You do loving kindness, spread loving kindness, very peaceful, right? Very peaceful. But once you come out, the peacefulness is gone already. Must maintain this mindfulness. So, we call these dhammas, phenomena. Why the mind scatter? Why the mind suddenly peaceful? Then you open your eyes, say, all gone, right? The peace is gone. Because the mind is distracted by our six senses. Six senses. I think in primary school we learn 5 senses, right? Primary school science, we learn 5 senses. What are the 5? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. So we have 5 organs and 5 senses. Your sight, your hearing, taste, smelling, touch, and that kind of thing. So Buddhism, we have one more sense called the sixth sense. The sixth sense is not the ESP and not the kind of sixth. No, the sixth sense is the mind door. All the thinking, all the thoughts. That is the sixth sense in Buddhism. So all the ideas. Generally, when we visualize the body, your hair, your nails, your teeth, so that is using your sixth sense, the mind door. Your eyes are closed, so how can you see your hair? Right? Your eyes are closed. So you're using your mind door, using your imagination, visualization. Right? So we have 6 senses. So the mind, it's said that it can be distracted by these 6 things. 6 things. So Buddha said, generally we have a comparative peace, comparative happiness, something to compare. You sit down, quiet, peace, and come out, all gone, right? The peace and whatever happiness is gone. So, Buddha said, the 5 clinging aggregates is suffering. 5 clinging aggregates is suffering. Right, you know the 4 Noble Truths in Buddhism? 4 Noble Truths, you know? Suffering, cause of suffering, this cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the end of suffering. So suffering, the Buddha taught, birth, aging, sickness, death, separation of loved one, all these are case study. But the real thing is the 5 clinging aggregates are suffering. So when you see something, there are 5 aggregates. You hear something, there are also 5 aggregates. You think of something, there are also 5 aggregates. Okay, so how does the 5 aggregate work? In Buddhism, you study so many things, 5 aggregate, so many terms, but what does it mean in application? So today my job is to demystify some of the common terms in Buddhism, common jargons, so that you can sort of apply, at least in a practical level. Right? We do a lot of chanting, chant so many things, rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana, anicca, all this. So we chant, but we may not know what it is. So when we talk about the senses, there are 5 aggregates. So I start with the number 5 one. Number 5 is called consciousness. Consciousness. The Pali word is called vijnana. Vijnana, consciousness, vijnana. So, vijnana actually have many definitions. Just like you look up a dictionary, sometimes one word got many definitions. Right? For example, I use the word light, L-I-G-H-T, light. So light can be this light, can be the wavelength, can be the weight, featherweight, lightweight. So all these are the same word but different definition. So same thing, consciousness, vijnana. Sometimes one word can have many different definitions depending on context use. So if you, let's say, you use it on pre-Buddhist context, like maybe in Hinduism or even New Age religion, consciousness can mean the soul or the spirit. That can be one definition. Consciousness can also mean the state of mind. The different kinds of consciousness, even the level of concentration can be a kind of state of mind. This is an infinite consciousness. That's a state of mind consciousness. Or even the Abhidhamma have these many noble smile consciousness, 52 kind of states of mind, this consciousness, and so on. So that's another definition of consciousness. But when we talk about 5 aggregate, this consciousness is referring to the six sense basis consciousness. When you see with eye consciousness arise. So how the Buddha defined this six sense basis consciousness? Depending on the form, can be the object you see, the form, anything that's tangible, visible, and dependent on your organ, eye organ, and eye consciousness arise. So that's the definition of consciousness. That means you need something visible there, your eyes must be working, and then eye consciousness arise. That means basically it means your attention. Consciousness means attention. And dependent on your ear, dependent on the sounds, and then ear consciousness arise. So why you can hear my voice? Because your ears are working, there's a sound from the speakers, and then your ear consciousness arise. Means your attention from the ear. So this is the the sutta definition of consciousness. Of course, there are post-canonical definition of consciousness, such as rebirth linking consciousness, like independent origination. They will tell you, there's such thing as consciousness, from one life, pass away, and then rebirth in a new fetus, another consciousness. So that requires two body, right? But when we talk about daily life, still one body, you're still alive, you see, hear, smell, think, taste, and touch. All these are consciousness. So it's here and now Dhamma. Don't need past life or future life. So this is how it's supposed to be practiced here and now, this lifetime. Okay, so this is consciousness, number 5th aggregate. Then we start from the first one. When we see something or hear something, there are forms. There are forms. And this is the first aggregate. First aggregate is called, the Pali word is called rupa. Rupa, form. So form is anything made of the 4 elements. Earth, fire, wind, and water. Earth, fire, wind, and water. Right? So you see me, so this cloth got something, right? Something tangible. There's temperature, so there's fire. There's earth element. Yeah? So all these are 4 elements. When you hear my voice, there's vibration to your eardrum. So all these are elements also. The bone hitting the ear, all these are earth elements. The movement, the wind element, so on and so forth. So all these are 4 elements. So this is the first aggregate, form. And then the next aggregate we have is feeling. So when you pay attention to something, all these are 5 in 1. So the next one, feeling, is called Vedana. This is called, Vedana is the Pali word, Vedana, for feeling. So it can be either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Generally, I can classify to these 3. So let's say when you sit down and let's say you feel your backside, right? How many of you feel pleasant forever? Can, right? So feeling, we have different classifications. Sometimes can be pleasant, sometimes neutral, sometimes you sit too long and painful. So we have different feeling. Different feeling. Right? So this is the second aggregate. Second aggregate. And the third component, the third aggregate is called perception. The Pali word is called sanya, perception or memory. So all the terms are all the jargon or the memory, you need to label something. So you call this microphone, you call this laptop. So all these are perception. When you pay attention to something, you need to give a name. You need to identify. So this is called perception. So if you haven't learned certain term before, or haven't come across certain thing before, then you see something, you have no idea. So this kind of stun your perception. Right? So today you learn about these 4 elements or these 5 aggregates. So when you see something, okay, this is called earth element. So you have new perception. New perception. This is a third aggregate. And the fourth aggregate is called, we call it sankhara, volition or mental formation. The moment the thought is formed. Moment thought is formed. moment thought is formed. Okay, I give a simple exercise. You point your hand like that, point the finger. Now, make your mind as relaxed as possible. And then try to point where is your attention now. So if your finger is always like that, that means you're daydreaming. Or not, or you're sleeping. So you need to point where is your attention. If I'm talking, where is your attention? Okay. Then if I stop talking, where is your attention? Don't deliberately fix your mind anywhere. Let your mind be natural as possible. Then you try to pinpoint where is your attention. It's called truly understanding the workings of your mind. Wow, some really like that forever. Looks like some ascetic practitioner like that. Or like Visadev the Buddha. Right? This month is the month of Vesak, right? End of this month. Okay, so this experiment, this exercise shows that the mind is always sort of running around. We call this volition, mental formation. The moment your attention jumps from one place to another, that transition is called mental formation, volition. Right? So when your attention moves somewhere, that is your 5 aggregate. When you pay attention to something, that's 5 aggregate. So if we pay attention to our old age, then that is 5 aggregate, then we have old age suffering. Our old age, next time our retirement plan, how? They have all this suffering. Right? Then you think of sickness, then my health insurance plan, how? So this is your sickness, suffering. Right? So the Buddha give all this example is based on the 5 aggregate. 5 aggregate. So we are trying to look inwards. Cause of the problem, cause of the suffering is the clinging of the 5 aggregate. So this clinging is because of the desire, this greed, hatred, delusion. Greed, hatred, delusion. Greed, hatred, delusion. So we have a few exercises earlier in the meditation. We ask you to do this contemplation of the body, aging, decay, and death, all this kind of thing. Earlier on, I was shown a poster of this my Dhamma talk for today. So the first original title was, or rather when Edmund invited me, was how to apply Dhamma in daily life for lay Buddhists. And then there's a poster that came out and show, what is it? How to be a good Buddhist. How to be a good lay Buddhist. Then they changed back to the original version. Dhamma in daily life. Something like that. So, how it works, Dhamma in daily life for lay Buddhists. So today I combined together. The Buddha teach a sutta, he taught a sutta. Or he teach many suttas for a lay person. Some are more specific, how to be a good husband, good wife, how to be a good businessman. So I'm not going to teach all this. I'm not going to teach all this. So today is something more universal, more applicable, how to overcome suffering in general. Overcome suffering in general. So there are real practical solution. So there's this Upajjhatana Sutta, contemplating the 5 kind of contemplation. Every layman, every lay woman, every monk, every nun should do consistently, every day, every moment. So there are 5 things. Actually, I said before. How many of you heard this before? The 5 contemplation. Never, or forgotten already. Okay, so I jot up some perception. Okay, so the first one is you have to contemplate, I am subject to aging. Aging is unavoidable. So this one is contemplation number 1. We will get old. we get old. Yeah? So this is contemplation number 1. And contemplation number 2, we are subject to sickness. Sickness is unavoidable. It's contemplation number 2. And contemplation number 3, I am subject to death. Death is unavoidable, subject to passing away. And contemplation number 4 is, because you know there's passing away, then you'll be separated from your loved one. So I'm subject to separation from my loved one. Yeah, so separation is unavoidable. And contemplation number 5, because these 4, you think about it very upset, very pessimistic, you might get depression. So the number 5 one is to balance up. So this one, the number 5 is to contemplate on karma. I am the owner and the subject. I'm subject to my karma, the good and bad. I'm the owner of it. Whatever good and bad, I will be the recipient of these karmas. So this is contemplation number 5. Is to develop this equanimity towards these things. So there are 5 kind of contemplation that if we do consistently every day, if you read up the sutta, Upachatana Sutta, then the last one is it is possible to reach enlightenment. So your layperson also can reach enlightenment. But for monk, we are full-time, so we have more time supposed to practice this. Yeah? So very simple exercise. Don't need to do all the chim-chim, all the different... that one is you have time to invest, then you go and learn all the different jhanas, all these things. So this one is using wisdom. So there's a kind of vipassana, insight in contemplating on this aging, sickness and death, which is not part of the 40 objects of meditation. So that is post-canonical. So the sutta has 84,000 Dhamma doors. There are more than 40. Yeah? So there are many, many kinds of practices that will help you practice and we say let go. So this is one kind of contemplation. So how does it apply? When a person thinks of this aging, sickness and death, we call this right thought. Right thought. Right thought is actually opposite. They counter this cause of suffering. Cause of suffering, right? Greed and hatred, right? Then right thought is non-greed, non-hatred. And this non-ill will, or depends on how you see it, or non-delusion. So it's the opposite. So you want to end suffering, you must have right thought. Then you cure this cause of suffering. So very direct. Very direct. Yeah. So when you think of all these decaying and death, sound very pessimistic, but actually just overcome one thing only. Overcome this greed, this lust or greed. Then the next one is hatred. That is another kind of desire. Another kind of desire. So the Pali, there's a definition. Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. 3 kinds of desire. The Buddha mentioned in his first discourse, the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutta, the first discourse to the 5 disciples. So he said there are 3 kinds of desire. Yeah, so kama tanha is craving for sensual pleasure, anything nice, beautiful you want. So that one you must think of decay and death. So it's to overcome this. Then the next one is vibhava tanha, hatred. So what's the opposite of hatred? Non-hatred, loving kindness. Okay, so that is the solution. So just now in the meditation, we have to wish this way unhappy, wish that way unhappy. So that one is to overcome hatred. So when we pay attention to anything at any moment. Actually, very fast. Anything that's unpleasant, then hatred will arise already. It's an unguarded mind, untrained mind, very fast arise. Anything unpleasant, then hatred will arise already. I don't like. I see too long backache, I don't like. So hatred arises already. Right? So very fast arising. So that's how we start off, some, if let's say, if you want to be adept, let's say in loving kindness meditation, that's what the Buddha encouraged. Every moment have this loving kindness. So at least you sort of reduce 50% on the problem, greed and hatred. So you reduce 50% on the problem. And the last one is delusion. Delusion is also a desire, with bhava tanha. Bhava tanha. That is a craving for eternalism. It's a kind of delusion. You believe in permanence. You believe in permanence. Reality is, we are changing, dying. But we believe in permanence. A lot of time, let's say before you learn Buddhism, or even sometimes when we are unguarded, then we think, I will be healthy forever one. I will live forever one. I won't die one. Not so soon. So we have this thought. It is a kind of eternalism, craving for eternalism. I want to be in this comfort zone forever. Something like that. So this is a kind of craving. A kind of craving. Sensual world craving. And then there's another kind of craving, for this form and formless concentration. There is another kind of bhava tanha, a different kind of comfort zone. So overall, there are cravings. So how to overcome this craving of bhava tanha? Anybody know the solution? What's the opposite of permanence? Impermanent. That's right. So the thinking of impermanence, change, rising, falling, birth and death, all these are impermanent. Thoughts of impermanence is to overcome the thoughts of clinging to permanence. Right. So it's to slowly condition the mind to accept reality. And the impermanence we are thinking is not made up, it's not invention, it's not imagination. When you breathe in and breathe out, is that real or not? Real thing, right? So it's real observation. Your body, growing old, your hair dropping off, all these are real or imagined one. Although it takes a long time to see, but if meditation, we speed up a bit. So this is real thing. Real thing. So we observe what is real and try to accept reality. Observe the real thing, accept reality. Okay, so this is just more on centering on yourself. But our suffering is not just self, but others. Not getting what you want is suffering. Separation from a loved one is also suffering. So all this is daily life situation. Daily life situation. You see somebody got bigger car, you're not happy. See somebody got bigger house, not happy, right? So all these are real life situations. But all these are 5 aggregates. You see something, 5 aggregates. You see something you like, and you have craving. Craving. So this is why it's very important, for a lay Buddhist to practice the Eightfold Path. Once you have right thought, right understanding, right thought, then everything will follow. Okay, what is right view actually? Right view is actually understanding these 4 noble truths. We must separate first what is circular happiness and what is mundane, spiritual happiness. If we keep on identifying mundane and circular happiness as true happiness, then we won't want to practice religion really. You won't want to come here really. Better go to cinema, go to pub. They also got happiness. Don't have to come here really. So the reason why you come here because you are trying to look for another kind of happiness. Spiritual happiness. Happiness from what? Letting go. So the Buddha always said, this happiness is like going against the stream. The normal world, the way of achieving happiness, material happiness, is they are dependent on certain things to be happy. I depend on money to be happy. Depend on a house to be happy. Depend on certain things to be happy. So the Buddha is something like a scientist. He's like a researcher, spiritual kind of researcher. He's trying to find a self-sustaining happiness that is not dependent on anything. So he researched all this happiness. Don't need to depend on things also can be happy one. Which you have to let go of this desire first. Let go of this desire first. Yeah, so he's researched. But of course he do it the hard way, like go through asceticism, go through all learn all the different concentration, and from there then he let go. Yeah, so there's a sutta on this called the Tapusa Sutta, how he let go from the different levels of concentration, so on. But for majority of us, so the Buddha thought, okay, 5 contemplation, very universally applicable kind of solution. Universally applicable. Okay, so I will use my slide. Oh, there's no slide, so it's okay. I don't have to use my slide. I can speak. The slide is is additional aid. Oh, but it's on now. Okay, so I can use. So actually, I can skip most of it. Most of it are. Okay, so I can sort of click. Can go past all these things. So, Dhamma, there are many kinds of Dhamma. Many kinds of Dhamma. So the one we are just now discussing is the Buddha Dhamma law earlier on. Dhamma. So Dhamma also can mean the truth. Can mean the truth. Got many definitions. It's a way of life. In line with the Dhamma. We live in line with Dhamma. So it's a way of life also. Oh God, this one. Better. So I point here as well. Point anywhere again. Okay. Oh, okay. So Dhamma is also can be a kind of can be used as a kind of mental quality. The 4th foundation, mindfulness and Dhammanusati, or even these Dhamma niyamas, a natural phenomena. And Buddhism believe there are certain cosmic laws. The law on the mechanical law, when gravity, force equals to what work. Work is force times distance. All these are the physics kind of thing. There's a mechanical law. There's a biological law. Things like you plant the seed, and the seed will grow. Yeah, cause and effect. Different kind of cause and effect law. Then there's a law of karma, the law of the psychic law. Then the last one is this one, Dhamma. Dhamma niyamas. So these Dhamma niyama, according to traditional Buddhism, they believe things like if the Buddha was born, and Visada is coming. When the Buddha is born, then there will be things like earthquake and things like that. So these are Dhamma niyamas, natural phenomena, something like supernatural, metaphysical phenomena that I cannot explain also. It's just like that. Okay, so these are some kind of Dhamma law. Okay, so you just know there's such thing. Or things like when the Buddha got enlightenment, then there's also kind of earthquake and that kind of thing. Yeah, because all the devas are shouting and noise pollution and whatever. Okay. So I'm not going to discuss all this kind of Dhamma. When we talk about Dhamma, we are talking about the one that we chant earlier. Did you all chant these 6 qualities of the Dhamma earlier in the puja? Swakato, Bhagavata, Dhammo, Sanditiko. Have, right? So when you chant, must know what you chant. So there are 6 things. When you pay homage to this Dhamma, right? It's not the book, It's not the Tripitaka. It's not the tree basket. It's actually the Dhamma is 6 quality. 6 quality to reach this inner happiness, reach this inner truth. Reach this inner truth. So Dhamma is can be defined by these 6 things. Yeah. So this Dhamma must have these 3 higher trainings. Lead to Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Lead to good morality, lead to certain peace of mind, and eventually lead to wisdom. Lead to this true happiness. So very important. So this is one definition of Dhamma. So if the Dhamma, the more you read, the more confused, the more you want to put forth argument and whatever. So that is not the real Dhamma that the Buddha wanted. It's called word Dhamma, only Dhamma by words. So a person can study, have PhD in Buddhism, study everything, but that is Dhamma in theory. The main thing is must lead to this Sila, Samadhi, Panya, to real wisdom, not intellectual wisdom. Yeah? So this is one of the quality to be seen here and now. So earlier on we talked about these 5 aggregate and 6 sense bases. All these are observable phenomena here and now. You don't have to wait past life, wait for future life, you don't have to wait until after you die. So things like in Buddhism, I talk about the 31 realms of existence or whatever 6 realms, the devas, the ghosts. All these are also Dhamma, but may not be Buddha Dhamma. All these are pre-Buddhist concepts. Before Buddhism, other religions also talk about all these heaven and hell, rebirth and reincarnation, whatever, life after death. All these are Dhammas, phenomena, real thing. Like earlier on mentioned, the different definition of Dhamma. All these are real thing. Yeah, just like when you turn on the light, then light will appear. So these are Dhamma also, right? But doesn't lead to inner happiness. So knowing about all the life after death, okay, very good. In theory, very good. But does it lead to real happiness? Yeah, so this you must separate theoretical Dhamma and this real quality Dhamma. Yeah. Okay, then Dhamma is timeless. So some people think, Buddhism 2,500 years ago, now not applicable. It's not true. Dhamma is timeless. 2,500 years ago, people have great hatred delusion. 2,500 years later, people also have great hatred delusion. In future also, there will be people with great hatred delusion. Because this is samsara, of course, you have great hatred delusion. So forever we will apply one. Yeah? Dhamma is timeless. So when there's great hatred delusion, then there'll be suffering and people want to get out of suffering and that kind of thing. So, of course, now modern science, they talk about all these transhumanism, when people want to live forever, they do all this genetic modification, they try to live forever, but that is just outside only. The mind still have great hatred delusion, still have unsatisfactoriness, this suffering. Okay. Next is ehipasiko, inviting one to investigate. So if whatever I say, then it's like force you believe, must be true. If you don't believe, then you cannot condemn. Then that is not the essence of Dhamma. You have to investigate. Investigate and observe for yourself. Observe for yourself. Yeah, inviting, you can, I can invite you to investigate. I can do the experiment for you, can or see all these things. I never force you to, must point here. Must only point this direction. No, you point yourself, all right? Yeah, the mind go where is your own mind, not my mind. Right, so all these are inviting others to come and see. All these are real things. then it's progressive, leading inward. So this is the key, leading to this true happiness. If let's say the more you study, then the more unhappy you get, or it's still the same, the more greedy, then no point. The more you know, then some people are very proud. I know a lot of Buddhism. I know a lot about Buddhism. Then it's going against this letting go. So it can be very tricky here. And to be realized by the wise, each for himself. So if you're able to let go, then that's wisdom. When you're able to let go, and that's wisdom. It's not in your chanting book. Okay, that means you do not know what you're chanting, so you have to take picture, right? Okay, so these are, when we pay homage to the Dhamma, is actually remind ourselves that we have to practice this. We have to practice this. Okay, so I give another further example. Finish already, all the photo taking? Okay. So this is a case study, it's a sutta case study on Dhamma Viharin Sutta, on what is really practicing Dhamma. What the Buddha meant by really, understanding and practicing Dhamma. Okay, so there's Buddhism, of course, if you look at the scripture, got a lot of amazing stories, these amazing events, sometimes even commentaries and so on and so forth. So got many, many, many things in the scripture, very exciting things. So if you spend the whole day study all these, and if you do not cultivate the mind, do not meditate, then this is a person who just study only. Study only Buddhist. Study only Buddhist. So that is still not living in the Dhamma. The Buddha said that is not living in the Dhamma. Yes, study only Buddhist. Study only Buddhist. So this is case study number 1. Case study number 1. So a lot of study and the PowerPoint are not like that. Okay, in my laptop it's not like that one. So it looks nicer. So maybe different version or something. So okay, it overlap. Okay, maybe the font change and different. Okay, so you study Dhamma, right? Okay, then case study number 2. So if a person also study the Dhamma, you go and recite, chanting. Because Buddhism for 600 years after the Buddha passing, the 600 years it has been passed down orally, oral tradition. But the Buddha actually forbid writing down. Buddha forbid writing down. So the rest of the monks is to go by memory. They split the job Okay, monk this group, you memorize this segment. Another group, you remind this segment. You memorize this segment. Another group, memorize this segment. So on and so forth. So they recite together. Because if you just let one person memorize, sure maybe got error, right? You forget. So you have a group. Then if one person wrong, the rest doesn't tally with the rest. Then they can see which are the most by democratic vote. Of course, not so reliable. Democratic vote. Then they will agree what is the correct version of the scripture. So part of the job is to memorize the scripture. So this is the recital role. Okay, so they recite the whole day. Recite. So if you still do not meditate, do not lead to seclusion, not cultivating the mind, then that is also not living in the Dhamma. It's called reciting monk. Reciting monk. So one good example was in the Buddha's time, this Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda. The Buddha's attendant. He's always accompanying the Buddha. Then he's like the tape recorder for the Buddha. But of course, last time no tape recorder. So he memorized everything. Whatever the Buddha teach, he go back and recite. So he sort of memorized everything the Buddha taught. So he's sort of the most important figure. He memorized everything the Buddha taught. But he's the last disciple to reach enlightenment. Yeah, he's been with the Buddha all the while for so many years, but the last one to attain enlightenment. Even at the moment when the Buddha was passing away, still not yet reached enlightenment, you know. It is after when the Buddha passed away, then this Venerable Mahakassapa, then he planned, okay, I want to have this first Buddhist council meeting, invite 500 arahants. Invite only the enlightened monks to attend. And then Venerable Ananda, haven't reached enlightenment, cannot attend. Yeah, but he's the only person who memorized everything. But he cannot attend, so you have to work very hard, practice and practice. Until just right before the first Buddhist council, then he reached enlightenment. Yeah, at the last moment, then he reached enlightenment. So this very clearly shows theory is one thing, letting go is another thing, practice is another thing. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is another one, study all the Dhamma, the dialogue. Yeah? But he doesn't spend the whole day studying. Yeah, you study a bit, it's okay. Study a bit. Then he must commit himself to mental cultivation. Must spend some time, do your inner research. Studying is outer research. You must do inner research. Really observe the mind. How does greed arise? How does hatred arise? This one is a real one. Must really observe. Do your own personal research. So this is the monk who dwells in the Dhamma. So the Buddha said, this is the one that dwells in the Dhamma. Yeah? Right, so like go forest, go whatever, go and meditate. So these are of course, physical seclusion, and of course, you need mental seclusion. Okay, so we covered these examples. So we always talk about 3 stages, the pariyatti, to learn, this is theory. Then the important one is to practice, and eventually to experience, to realize. Experience. And of course, some people add one more, to share. So of course, I only have these 3. So there are 3 or up to 4 stages in the Buddhist development. It's kind of a QC kind of cycle. So sometimes you share something, then you find, maybe I have certain doubt. Something is wrong in my understanding. Then you have to relearn again and re-practice. So it's kind of a continuous cycle. Okay, so now we talk about very common in the Buddhist circle. Always you hear terms of samatha and vipassana. How many of you heard of these 2 terms? Samatha, vipassana. Yeah, so one is talk about concentration, one is talk about insight. Very common things you hear in the Buddhist community now. But the modern version is sort of politicized version. We talk about the Sutta edition, the original version. There are such things as samatha and vipassana. The Buddha did taught both. He taught both. Yeah. So the first one is called this directed attention, directed training. So it's basically samatha. Yeah, you can find. I just copy and paste from a sutta. I will show the link later. Yeah. So this one is the instruction during the Buddha's time how to unify the mind, how to enter concentration. Yeah, so you need to unify the mind, pay attention there. Yeah, so this is called samatha. Concentration. So this is one kind of training. You need this kind of contentment first before you move on to the next one. So the next one they call it undirected. So this one commonly known as maybe more popular in the Burmese tradition, vipassana, or sometimes now they extrapolate and call it the mindfulness movement. Yeah? So now they have this popular mindfulness workshop as you observe your emotion, observe your state of mind, observe your breath. Yeah? So all these, when the mind is not concentrated, then you observe, then you observe this. Yeah, he's aware, the body, feeling, mind, how it arises, how it passes away. So you can find this in this sutta called this, Bhikkhu Nivasako Sutta. So you can find both samatha and vipassana inside in the Buddha's time. Yeah, so they are both kind of trainings. So another example is this one. This Venerable Ananda again, he did a survey. He did a survey with all the enlightened monks. That is before he got enlightened. So he did a survey with all the monks and asked them, what method you use to get enlightened? So he surveyed. Then he got 4 general strategy. 4 general kind of method. 4 general kind of method. So group number 1 is they do samadhi first when the mind is calm, and then followed by they do vipassana, they do insight. Tranquility first, then followed by insight. Then they got enlightened. So this group number 1. Then another group of enlightened beings, they do the opposite way. They do insight first. They do insight meditation first. They see, they try to understand impermanence of the 5 aggregates. Then from there, then they enter concentration. Then from concentration, they got enlightened. Some people think, jhana is samadhi, cannot get enlightened. Not true, yeah? There's an interesting sutta, you can search jhana sutta. Every level of concentration from the first jhana to all the way to all the formless jhana to the 8 jhana and whatever, also can contemplate on impermanent suffering, non-self. Even inside the jhana, inside the concentration. So these are the people who understand this insight first, followed by they do this concentration. And then they got enlightened. So this one is number 2. So number 3 is they do both tranquility and insight. They combine both concentration and this reflection together. A bit of what we are doing earlier, like when we watch the breath, also must contemplate on impermanence, rising, falling, that kind of thing. So it's together, 2 in 1. They don't separate, they do 2 in 1. 2 in 1. So these are people who do 2 in 1 and got enlightened. So this is another group. And the last one is, this one I write myself one. Zen Koan style. Okay, but in the sutta, it's mentioned that this group of people have doubt, certain doubt in the Dhamma. Certain doubt in the Dhamma. Yeah. So in the Zen tradition Koan, they have this Ke'an, yeah? They have this certain question, like what is the sound of one hand clapping, something that make the people question and question and question, think about the question, right? So in this case, in that sutta, this Ananda said, he found out that certain group of monks, they have certain doubt in Dhamma, certain question, certain doubt. They keep asking, until they reach enlightenment. Yeah, possible. They keep asking until they reach enlightenment. So it's like anything happen, in the Buddha's time. So they have a question, they ask, then they got enlightened. So this is the four kinds of strategy, 4 kinds of, 4 groups of enlightened beings. So what is the sutta called? Yeah, in tandem. Yeah. Okay, so just now we talk about the meditation routine. So there's a sutta that talk about the different cognitive function. So let's say certain school of meditation, they just focus on samatha, concentration, focus. There is only one cognitive function. One cognitive function. In daily life, do we focus the whole day? No, right? Sometimes we do other things. You pay attention to this, pay attention to this. So we focus on, have different cognitive function. And then there's another kind of meditation, maybe vipassana, they open awareness, Don't focus, just open the mind, just relax. Similar to what we are doing now, the one finger, you try to find your attention. So open concept, open awareness kind of meditation. But in our daily life, can our mind be open 24/7? All right. Sometimes you need to check your phone. The mind must focus on the phone, right? You open, then you cannot see the word really. You want to key a certain number, open, hey, where's the number? You cannot find. Okay, so there are different cognitive functions. So the Buddha teaches that every cognitive function, there is also a way to contemplate. There's a way to practice. That means you can practice in any situation. In short, that's what it means. You can practice in any situation. So, situation number one is, okay. This one is in the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, the second discourse of the Buddha talking about non-self. Non-self. So, example number one is, even if you think of past, future, or present, you can also practice. Sometimes people will say, Buddhism is present moment, present moment. When you think about aging, decay, and death, that is future already, right? Or when you think about the Buddha, that is the past already, right? So how to think in a way that you can let go? Even thinking in the present also can have clinging, You know those people say, okay, present moment, think of the body. Those supermodel bodybuilders look at the mirror all the time and think of the body, right? So that doesn't mean they let go. So being present doesn't mean you let go. So this is number one. Whatever you think, past, present, or future, you can also learn to let go. So later I'll go through. Internal or external, blatant or subtle. So it can be internal, your body, or if you wish other beings, external. Can be coarse or subtle, something like refined emotion, things like loving kindness, something more refined, or blatant, greed and anger, all these. Near or far. So it doesn't have to be the breath all the time. Sometimes it can be looking far away. Looking far away. Some people can look at a dead corpse and then they realize something. So whatever function it is, you need to reflect. This is non-self. So of course Buddhism got these three universal characteristics. You can think of impermanence, suffering, or non-self. These three. So whatever you do, you see, smell, think, taste, touch, have to remind. It's like your inner mantra to mention, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Or non-self, non-self, non-self. So this is the practice. So I end with this today, and I leave some time for Q&A, right? Okay.
Let's say sadhu 3 times.
Okay.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes for Q&A. Do we have any questions for Bhante today? We'll pass the mic around, so if you have a question, please raise your hands to let us know. No? All enlightened today already? Okay. There's a brother there.
Thank you, Bhante, for that very interesting talk. I've always had this very, it's not really a relevant question, but I've always been very curious to know whether Mara is a real deity living in the heavenly realm, or is our greed, hatred, and delusion that is in our mind that is preventing us from enlightenment? So is it a real being that is preventing us from getting out of samsara, or is it just our greed, hatred, and delusion internally in our consciousness?
Okay, if you want to talk about the traditional account, then you can treat it as a kind of deity. But you want to talk about here and now Dhamma, the 6 qualities of Dhamma, then this Mara is our internal, our greed, hatred, delusion. So you want to talk about real life application, then is the internal one. You want to talk about a certain account, although it's in the scripture, but cannot prove. So this one is another kind of answer. So there are 2 answers.
Any more questions? One last one. Oh, there's a sister there.
Bhante,
Okay.
how to overcome fear? By just contemplating on fear?
Okay, for fear. Okay, so if a person haven't reached equanimity yet, haven't has enough strength of mind, to be contented, then the fear or any emotion, even positive or negative, we will subject to clinging. Because the mind is like that. We need, how do you call it? The emotion will always beat logic. We can be very logical, talk about, okay, be mindful, don't cling, emptiness, non-self. But when the emotion comes, we dwell in the emotion. Most of the time, we sure dwell. Yeah, so of course, there are many recommendations. The Buddha got teach many methods, things like even recollecting on the triple jam, things like that, until the fear subsides. So what in short is, you need a meditative theme to anchor the mind first. Anchor the mind first. Yeah, it can be recollection, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the breath, whatever. To anchor the mind. Once the mind is anchored, then it's easier to watch how this fear, how it arises, how it passes away, and that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, so maybe let's pay 3 respects to thank Bhante
Okay,
for the
alright.
talk.